the regular council meeting for the Borough of Swissvale for November 2nd, 2022. Let's call the meeting to order at 7:10 p.m. Item number 2 is our roll call. Ms. Alfonso Wells,
Present.
Mr. Miser,
Here.
Mr. Price, Mr. Price,
Here.
Bill. Okay, there we go. Next, Ms. Salisbury,
Here.
Ms. Scales,
Here.
Ms. Stribling,
Here.
Mayor Schwartzwelder.
Here.
There was no official public comment, but we do have Ms. Charlene Chrisman, who has applied to work as the or be appointed to the police committee liaison position. And so, Ms. Chrisman, I don't know if you're able to turn on video as well so we can see you, but we would love to give you an
I'm
opportunity.
gonna put my video on. Where's the video? Let's see. Start the video. Yeah, put the camera on. Okay. Can you
Great.
see me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see you. Thank you. Ms. Christmas, thank you so much for your application. We just wanted to give you an opportunity we wanted to meet you to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are interested in being the liaison for the police committee.
Well, I live on Columbia Avenue. I purchased a home here in Swissvale in February 2011. I am gainfully employed at the Allegheny County Adult Probation Office, where I am a senior manager. I've been employed there since June 17th, 1974, which is 48 years. I'm not in the streets any longer as far as doing field supervision. I now do management paperwork. Pre-sentence investigations is my specialty right now. I was a pre-sentence investigator for 10 years out of the 48, and now I'm the manager of that unit. I don't know if you know what the pre-sentences are. Once a defendant is convicted of a crime prior to sentencing, the judge will request a pre-sentence investigation, which includes the defendant's social and criminal history from juvenile court to all the present. And it's very detailed. I have 7 investigators who do the work for me. Once the report is done, it is submitted to the judge who requested the report. There are, I think, 12 criminal court judges that we do the reports for. Then the defendant returns to court and they are sentenced. But the purpose of the pre-sentence investigation is to help to give the judge more information, social and criminal information prior to sentencing the defendant to help him make the most appropriate sentence. Not only does the judge review the report, but so does the defense attorney and the defendant and the assistant district attorney. So if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to ask me about it. But it's called a pre-sentence investigation. So if you hear about that, that involves me. Oh, I don't know what else you want to know.
Well, yeah, what was your interest in this liaison position?
Well, I tell you, I am our neighborhood watch. I'm involved in the neighborhood watch program up here on Columbia Avenue. I met with the chief approximately 2 years ago, and we talked about it. And we have a very close neighborhood here where we have each other's phone numbers. The home's right across from me, and going towards Brenton. We notify each other when we are going to be away. We watch each other's homes. If there's any kind of criminal activity going on in the neighborhood, we alert each other. We notify each other. I, in particularly, watch people's homes. They tell me I'm very meddlesome, and it may be part of my investigative skills. But it's something that I'm interested in. I am involved in I believe in safety for the community and public safety. I'm very big on that. And my neighbors would tell you that I am very assertive with that to make sure that this is a safe neighborhood here. And that I will let the police know immediately if something is not. I don't call the police about a dog barking in the middle of the night, no. But for something serious or anything where I think someone has been hurt or injured, or we had I take my dogs out 4:30 in the morning, go to the bathroom. And sometimes I see kids coming down, pulling open car doors or trying to pull open car doors. I notify my neighbors of that. And I will let the police know. And that's just, I mean, that's what we do here. So, I like this neighborhood. I want it to be safe and I want to do everything I can to help that. I guess I have a question though. What does this position really entail? I know that it's the liaison between the committee and the community, but what does that really involve? Can someone tell me?
Sure. So the liaison position, you're right, it is a liaison. A lot of times what we're focused on with the committee is the mechanics of what our overall goals are. So the goals have been improvement of community relations, of course, the safety of our neighborhood, but also strengthening the professional structure of the police department as well. The benefit in having a liaison is for most residents, they feel more comfortable with directly communicating with the liaison. Sometimes there may be issues, concerns, or maybe some just helpful suggestions on how we can meet some of these objectives coming directly from the residents themselves. And a lot of times the liaison, well, I can only speak from the experiences I've had with this liaison, and that's been at least 2 years. The liaison is present in the community. So the liaison has the capability to give us feedback and say, hey, this is not working. Or this particular, process or procedure should incorporate maybe, this additional change. So for example, one of the improvements that we made on our website is we put the names of our police officers on the website so that the community can clearly see the names of the police officers. Now, that is a suggestion that was made, but what was also beneficial is that in the process of me making that suggestion, one of my residents actually made that suggestion at the same time. So it just gave me more confirmation that is the transparency that the community is asking for as it relates to the police. And so the liaison position is supposed to help us with keeping our ears essentially to the ground, making sure we're incorporating some of the current and ongoing concerns of the community so that we can continue to improve.
Okay. I understand that. And I'm in agreement with that. Totally, yes. Do you have any questions for me?
I was going to ask the same thing. Any other council members have questions for Ms. Christmas?
You seem to have so many good qualifications. I can't think of a question aside from, please don't please don't change your mind. So, that's more of a question of why, but I'm glad you have decided to put your time towards something like this and apply for this. We need people who are qualified in this type of way. I think you bring a unique set of qualifications that we don't necessarily have. And that it's always good to get these different types of opinions based on experience. And I think that as a liaison, that is good. You seem to be a very forthright person. And I wish you were, walking your dogs at 4:30 in the morning on my block because I'm a nebby neighbor myself.
I am.
There at 4:30 in the morning, but
I am.
like to fill in those gaps. So we really thank you for applying for this position. This is like getting some good quality applicants. Thank you.
Well, my neighbors tell me I'm that my dogs and I are both all three of us are meddlesome, and we are. We go up and down the street, and when I walk my dogs, when I come home, I'm looking in the streets, I'm looking in the yards, looking at the homes, making sure the windows are locked, there's no one climbing through the windows, going through the back. I am meddlesome. Yes, I am. And I make no apology for it. That's what I do. I'm an investigator. And my neighbors know it. And I think that this liaison committee works hand in hand with the Neighborhood Watch program. That's why I was interested in it when I saw it in the newspaper, Swissvale paper. And that's what caught my eye, because I think it works hand in hand with what I'm already doing here on my street. And I really like this community. I want to do everything I can to add to the improvement of the community. I want it to thrive and be a place where, particularly as people grow older, they can feel safe, children can feel safe. And that it's not, that it's not a place that we have to hide in the bathtub, ducking because bullets are flying over our heads and we're afraid to come out. And I don't want to live like that. I don't think anyone should have to live like that. So,
Well,
I don't know. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, Miss Christmas, thank you. On behalf of council, thank you so much for your interest. We will be taking action on this later on in our meeting. We will be voting whether or not to appoint you to that position. And so someone, presumably Mr. Batchy, will reach out to you following some point in time following the meeting to let you know the results of that.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
All right, let's move on to item 4, meet the police. Ms. Scales, do you want to introduce them or would you like me to?
I am comfortable with you introducing the police. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So this time, let's meet we'll start with Officer Jason Schweikirth. If you can unmute and just tell us a little bit about yourself. You are muted right now. Still muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you enjoy most about being an officer with the Swissvale Police Department.
I've been with Swissvale for 14 years. I enjoy just working in this community, getting to know the people. I currently am one of the FTOs, training the new guys here. I enjoy the teaching aspect of that and just love the job.
Can you, for those who might not be familiar with it, can you tell us what FTO stands for and what that role involves a little bit?
It stands for Field Training Officer. Basically, when we get new hires that come in out of the academy that are brand new, just basically teaching them how to do the job the right way, how Swissvale's policies are, the procedures, how the day-to-day operations work. Basically just kind of extension of the academy, just teaching them how to do the job properly.
And I know from the time that I sat on the police committee, that was one of the things that we heard quite often, and even in interview process, that there is a really the continued educational aspect of being a Swissvale police officer. That it's not just you throw them right into to the work, but that there's a training and kind of tutorial regimen in that as well. So thank you for your participation in that. Are there any other council members that have questions or would something they'd like to hear from Officer Schweikirth?
I do not have any questions, but I noticed that our mayor is with us. So if she could please introduce our next officer.
Well, I was
I
just
guess
gonna say that, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say that I hope to see you in an off-duty capacity, or to see you as you're riding in your car. I generally say hi to our officers when I see them passing by. I look forward to meeting you in a non-official capacity, like you shouldn't be coming to my home for anything like that, unless it's like a gas leak and you're telling me to get out. Yes, I look forward to meeting you on the street and to learning how to say your name, because the spelling is wow.
Yeah,
how do you pronounce that?
White cart. It's easier to say than it looks. So
White cart. Wow. Okay. That makes it a little easier because it looked like a mouthful.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, thank you, Jason.
You're
You
welcome.
are, Jason is a top-notch police officer. He does wonderful community connections, and he is a great leader for our department. So thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you.
Our next officer is CJ Ellis. He is a newly, well, hired full-time police officer. He's been with, well, go ahead, CJ. Tell us
Hello,
about yourself.
everyone. My name's CJ Ellis. I've been with Swisswell for approximately 3 years now. Moved out to the community. I lived here for multiple years, and I still live pretty close, and I enjoy the community and everybody that lives here.
What's your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job is interacting with the residents. I am part of the bike patrol. I'm not sure if anyone has seen me on Halloween, but just interacting and speaking with people, especially the children around. There's a lot of good kids around here, and I like just hanging out with people and mostly the kids and playing basketball, football, whatever makes the kids happy and the residents.
And Officer Ellis, you were with us part-time for quite some time before you became full-time, right?
Yes, I was for approximately 6 or 7 months. I've been full-time now for about December will be 3 years.
And I did see you on the bicycles, and I will tell you that my street was really excited to see our officers out on bicycle patrol during Halloween.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad it was noticed.
Well, it's nice to see you that you're 3 years in as full-time. I remember, I guess, what would we have classified you as, a rookie? I remember when you first came to the department. So it's very nice to see you thriving and on the bicycle. And I'll be looking out over here on Scheuer. It's flat, so hopefully we can see you over here. So I haven't seen you yet, but I look forward to it. It'll be a nice surprise when I take a walk or something and I get to see you riding your bike.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Officer Ellis?
Thanks, CJ.
Thank you very much.
You're a great addition to our department.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both. Let's move on to item 5, which we are going to have a presentation from East Shore and the Urban Land Institute. There was a, well, in fact, why don't Chuck and Bill, why don't I let you guys kind of introduce what this was? We invited them to come on and share the findings of the report that came out a couple of months ago with council and the general public. So you guys, I think we said about 20 minutes for a presentation. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, my name is Bill Poff, and I live real close to Swissville in Rankin. I'm a Rankin councilman and also serve as president of the Enterprise Zone Corporation. So thanks for having us this evening. When at one time, we've been around over 30 years, but at one time our corporation was for Braddock Borough only. And at a certain time, it was expanded to include North Braddock and Rankin. And at that time, that's when I got involved with the Enterprise Zone. And ultimately, we asked the state to include Swissville in it also. So we represent Braddock, North Braddock, Rankin, and Swissville. And our primary goal is economic development of all 4 communities. We've been very busy, even during COVID, trying to enhance our businesses and help with the gap loans. And that was our first charge when we started over 30 years ago. And we've been involved in about 125 development projects, some big, some small, from securing a $2.5 million state enterprise zone tax credit for the United States Steel Corporation to last year producing a loan with your Swissvale Dairy Delight, which, by the way, we all know has been doing well. At this time, I would like to introduce our coordinator, which is Mr. Chuck Starrett. Chuck's a resident of Swissvale, Westmoreland Avenue, and turn it over to Chuck now. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill, and good evening. As Bill said, I've been a resident of Swissvale for decades and served on the Planning Commission for 12 years. As chairman for one term of that, and so you've been, interested in what's happening in the community. We've been looking at transforming this area, transforming our organization in the area. In 2015 and 2016, we had some business meetings among members and business people in the area, and people were saying, there's new companies moving in. There's some tech companies that have moved in to the area, Unicentric in Braddock, Phillips Tank and Structure in Braddock. And we also noticed that new residents were moving into the area. A lot of renovation taking place. Real estate market in Swissvale has been doing very well. There have been homes built in Rankin and North Braddock and others in rehab by Mon Valley Initiative. So some good things are going on. People said good things are going on, but the reputation of the area isn't good. What can we do to improve the reputation? We started reaching out beyond our area. One of my pet peeves has always been that a lot of the funding for organizations stayed within the city of Pittsburgh. They've been pretty successful with their groups in East Liberty, South Side, Oakland, Planning and Development, and others, but those resources weren't coming out to this area. We had meetings with the Allegheny Conference and some others and some foundations, and they said, well, you need to, if you want to get foundation and outside funding, you need to have a credible organization work with you. We're fortunate to secure funding and technical assistance from People's Gas Company, and that led us to, with their PR firm, to create the term East Shore for this area. People a lot of times don't care about what community they're in, and if you're going to sell these 4 relatively small communities, it's 18,000 people in the 4 communities. I know that others have done that in the Steel Valley. They call it the Avenues of the Steel Valley in Homestead, West Homestead, and Mudhall. So we created this East Shore initiative. We started a website and a social media program, and Tracy Crombie Collins, many of you know, Swissvale resident, she handles that for us. And the goal of that is to advance the assets and opportunities of the area. So that's been operating. We had good feedback on that. I mentioned we reached out to the Allegheny Conference, and they started a program where what they call Strengthening Communities Partnership. There are 16 groups like ours that they've helped in advancing them, and we visited one of them, McKees Rocks, which has been pretty successful in gaining dollars and doing some successful things in McKees Rocks. So we're members of that. That led us to the Leadership Pittsburgh. Some of you know of. It's been around for 30 years, and their Leadership Development Initiative. And we had 60 young professionals working with us. They studied the area. They came up with what we needed for a briefing book with demographics and information about the area, and that then led us to talk to former Pittsburgh Mayor Tom Murphy, who has a lot of relationships with people in this area. And Mr. Murphy is a senior fellow with the Urban Land Institute, which is an international organization. It's very prestigious. So he spoke to our group, and ultimately, because we had the East Shore Initiative moving forward, we received some foundation funding, and thus we've been able to transform our activities. And our board did talk a lot about, do we just want to do economic development, or do we want to encourage the full prosperity of these communities? So Mr. Murphy challenged us to do more. We applied to the state for what are called neighborhood assistance program state tax credits. we received tax credits, which you can get 55 to 75% credits to companies. So we got donations from local companies. Our first project was to work with Rankin Borough on the Hawkins Village redevelopment. I believe and Bill could tell you, we got a much better deal with the Allegheny County Housing Authority and made some changes and enhancements. And it looks like it's going to be a nice development. And Rankin Borough benefited financially from that. Our second one is for the Neighborhood Assistance Program, where we again received donations from companies, is to implement the plans that we had proposed with the Urban Land Institute. So just wanted, before we get into the plan, just mention that many of us served on a steering committee for the Cary Furnace. 15 years we had meetings, and not a lot was happening. We felt emboldened to do more, and really it was Bill and the Enterprise Zone that put together a meeting at the Swissvale Fire Department, where we had Swissvale officials, some of you may have been there, Rankin officials, Braddock officials, and we got Congressman Doyle, State Senator Costa, State Representative Costa, Rich Fitzgerald, county executive, and staff. And we put on a real good program and convinced them to start marketing the property. And Rich Fitzgerald at that meeting did make a commitment to market the property. And within a year or so, with a new director at the Department of Economic Development, we did find a developer and Regional Development Corporation, and the county broke ground on the Cary Furnace site, last month. So, and I would say that our organization had a lot to do with that. Murphy challenged us to do more, and one of the things we did was we did engage the Urban Land Institute to undertake a study of the area. We worked for months with their staff on preparing for that. The briefing book prepared by the Leadership Development Group was instrumental in giving the base information to the urban land people. We had 5 experts in community and economic development from around the country. We had people from Philadelphia, 2 from Florida, one was Tampa in charge of community development there, one from Norwalk, Connecticut, another person from Hampton, Virginia. They were here for a week in June. They interviewed 60 representatives of local government, nonprofits, business, and real stakeholders of the communities on coming up with their recommendations. Among those people that were interviewed that were Chris Ansell, President Council, Deneen Schwartzweather, the mayor, Chelsea Burkett from the Dairy Queen, Emily Mercurio with Civic Mappers, lives on Cross Street, and Tim Ward, who's former councilman. We had posed 12 questions to the committee, to the panel, of things that we wanted them to address. I hope all of you received a copy of that report. We sent that on to the borough. It's this report, East Shore report. It's 20 pages, which is not a lot, but again, there's a lot of other information that was provided to us well beyond that. And Urban Land Institute staff and Tom Murphy, who's been an advisor to us, are going to continue to work with us. On the recommendations, which are on page 5 of that report, first one was to create a riverfront district for vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians to enjoy the Mon River and the experience that. The second one was to create a land use and organization model to market the strengths of these communities in the broader Pittsburgh area. The third was to create a production district, primarily on vacant land in Rankin at the Cary Furnace site, and also in Braddock on properties that need to be assembled. 4 is to conduct a parcel-specific inventory of property to determine where there could be a revival of housing and of the business districts in the communities. 5 was to create an organization which could be an expanded enterprise zone group or a successor that could consolidate the many activities taking place in the area to create general prosperity. 6 was to create that organization, staff that organization with sufficient resources that can focus on community and economic development. And finally, number 7 was to create a development fund. A lot of these groups have development funds. Unlike the city of Pittsburgh, which has the Urban Redevelopment Authority with a lot of money, Allegheny County government, their development department, does not have the resources, let's say, that the city of Pittsburgh has. So it is proposed to create a multi-million-dollar development fund that could be used to finance commercial, retail, and residential development. As I said, that report is 20 pages. We have used that report, which I think people with the Urban Land Institute feel that it has credibility. We've sent that on to the state for applications. We've shared that with the Allegheny County director, and he's well informed on this. We have sent it now off to private sector developers, philanthropic organizations, financial institutions. Bill and I just met with a developer the other night, the Buncher Company, a developer, and shared that report with them. The feedback that we received from people that were interviewed was that it's about time that people started working together. We have groups like that are partners with us: the Turtle Creek COG, the Rivers of Steel, the Mon Valley Initiative, the Braddock Battlefield History Center, and the Rankin Christian Center. The people with those organizations said, we need to support each other. We need to work together. People work in silos. Let's band together. This organization is not to replace the housing that's done by Mon Valley Initiative, for example, or the public works type of things that are done by the council of governments, but to work with them to bring resources to the area. As I said before, I've seen what kind of money has gone into some of these communities and some of these neighborhoods. And Tom Murphy, who works around the world, has spoke to our group recently and talked about the type of funds that have come into organizations. So that's what we want to do. We want to bring monies and resources and staff capacity to the area so that we can get more done to create prosperity in the area. Finally, the next steps are and we're moving on that, to create an advisory board of outside people who can link us in with resources from outside the area. Tom Murphy volunteered to do that. Bill Flanagan, who has a television show on economic development, is with the Allegheny Conference. He's a Churchill resident. He's on board. Howard Slaughter, who's been with many different organizations. In fact, Howard was once the treasurer of the Enterprise Zone, and Howard is very connected. He's on board. And Catherine Barnes, who is a community development specialist with First National Bank, who has provided funding to us, are all going to be on that advisory board. And we have created 3 committees comprised of members of the Enterprise Zone to work on specific implementation activities. Pages 15 and 16 of that report lay out what we want to do in the future. Now, it doesn't go into great specifics, and a lot of work remains for us, but we've got some really smart people that are members of our group. And as I said, we've got a great advisory board, I think, to move ahead. And we're really just kicking this off now. But we wanted to, since each of the communities has representation on our board, and currently Mayor Swartzwelder represents Swissville on our board. So we are talking with each of the boroughs to inform them about what's going on and get you involved in all this. So that's my report. And we'll take any questions. Bill and I are available to ask any questions you have.
Good job, Chuck. I've never seen you talk that fast.
Well, I don't want to make this last too long, Kevin.
I have a question. Do you have people of color that are on your board? And are you, because I noticed some of the names, I don't know everybody, but some of the names you mentioned, I didn't see anybody of color on there. Who do you have that's representing the people of color in neighborhoods?
You want me to answer that, Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, first and foremost, the guy that I replaced on as board president is Michael Aldrich, local funeral director. Michael's been a great member for 30 years.
Lucky Price.
Yeah, Lucky Price. My brother from a different mother, Lucky Price.
Mayor Delia,
Yeah.
Lennon from Braddock.
North Braddock Councilwoman. Can't think of her name right.
Is it Lisa Franklin?
Yeah, Lisa Franklin, president of North Braddock Council. Used to represent North Braddock, and now we have Zena. Zena is a
Ruiz.
councilwoman over there.
Zena Ruiz. Zena
Yeah,
Ruiz.
Robert Parker from Braddock Borough.
I mean, I like the ideas of what you're saying. I would like to see a lot of economic development here. In particular, I just want to make sure that people in our community don't get left behind as we go forward. I did, oh my gosh, I did hear Tom Murphy speak a couple of months ago, and just fantastic, his vision and telling people that they have to have a vision. Because if you don't even imagine something in the future,
Yeah.
you'll never get to the future. And I took away from his words, he said, you have to be imagining 20 years down the line. Don't do something for today, do something for 20 years from now, 30, 40 years from now. So I hope that's what you are planning. I look forward to seeing that type of development, and that we can get, and hopefully we get it right, because we want to make sure that as our neighborhoods develop, we don't develop in a way that people get resentful, or in a way that people feel that we're just gentrifying and kicking people out of the neighborhood. I like the idea of bringing all of this development and having different organizations involved. It seems like we can probably get a lot of this money to help develop our little section of the woods, so to speak. We do see a lot of development going on in Rankin, strangely enough, and we always seem to be skipped over. So I'm glad people are taking an interest in this particular section of the area, so that we can get some development over here.
Well, you know what I think is funny, Sean, is, we had a groundbreaking, which some of your members of council was done on a Cary Furnace site, but, I retired out of the North Hills where they build 8 houses a day and strip shopping centers. And I've always been critical, because in the Mon Valley area, we sit around in meetings all the time, And Chuck alluded to it earlier. For close to 20 years, we've been in meetings about 130-acre brownfield in Swissvale and Rankin, But I will say, I've noticed in your community, residentially, a lot of people are getting pushed out of the East End and so on. And so, Swissvale's real estate is improving with the people moving in and renovating. And in Braddock, we've seen some high tech companies get pushed out of Lawrenceville, and they're coming to our area. So it's a combination of both. But if you get a chance, check out the report that Urban Land did for us. It was quite impressive. It really was. And they worked their tail off all week, interviewing a lot of our people.
Thank you. And I think I've seen both of you maybe in something related to the Cary Furnace. You look both very familiar in that sense, but I've been to a lot of different places in a short amount of time. So I can't always remember where I've seen everybody, but I've definitely seen the two of you.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
That means we've been around a long time. I guess that's what that means.
Hey,
Well,
Sean,
I
the next time we see you, we'll show you pictures of Chuck and I years ago when we both had hair and it was black. Of course, Chuck still has hair, but mine was black, believe it or not,
Well, I knew you both when you both had black hair. I applaud everything that you're doing. I kind of think the name East Shore is a little wonky, because I keep expecting seagulls and thrashers fries when I hear East Shore, but Nevertheless, I applaud everything you're doing.
Thank you.
One quick question I have is, does East Shore, or even kind of some of the conversations with Urban Land Institute, how are they taking into effect the economic realities of the Woodland Hills School District? Because I do think that that is something that is broader than just the East Shore region, but has some, I think, pretty significant ramifications in the communities that we live in, even as it pertains to economic development.
Well, of course, they're not, they were here for a short period of time. There was some background information provided in the LDI, the Leadership Development Initiative. Actually, they gave us a briefing book, but there were about 6 other reports, short reports that were provided, and they did interview the school district. Now, a lot of it had to do with, getting youth involved in things, but some of it, and I don't recall, but the tax issues with the school district are challenging. Let's put it that way. The rates that they charge and what the taxes are, primarily because of the school district, are something that are is a challenge for the area, I'd say.
Chris, one of the things that was interesting, because these folks are from other parts of the country, one of the consultants was from Philadelphia area. And he tried to explain to his committee that how crazy we are with, 501 school districts in Pennsylvania and all the municipalities, because some of these folks are used to working with a municipality as big as Allegheny County, like in Florida. And he tried to educate them on how we are not that way in Pennsylvania. So it was good to have a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania person on the committee. It really was.
Some of these people were from other states also, and they were surprised that that the state didn't fund a larger percentage of education. In some states, real estate taxes are not paying for the primary revenue resource for school districts, and that was surprising to some of the outside people from outside Pennsylvania.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I just, and I know, as you said, they were here for such a short time. But I think that should, as you said, it's a hurdle, it's a challenge that to see economic continue to flourish in the region needs to be dealt with, or needs to be considered at least.
And then, we deal with a lot of businesses. I mean, we've made, 125 projects. We've done like 67 loans. The tax structure, in this area is not conducive. That's why, Bill and I, we know people from Westmoreland County Economic Development, and their primary goal is to steal businesses from Allegheny County. That's what they do. And they're selling people on low taxes in those areas.
Any other questions? Well, thank you both so much for your time, willing to sit and share with us and the public that are watching a little bit of what's going on with Enterprise Zone and this report from the Urban Land Institute. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great seeing everybody.
You too. Have a great night.
Okay.
Let's move to item 6, which is council actions. The first item under council actions is A, minutes. And so if someone wants to make a motion with regard to the minutes.
I move to improve the minutes of the September 28th, 2022 council agenda meeting and the October 5th, 2022 council meeting.
Second.
Motion is on the floor. Are there any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? And is anyone abstaining? All right, motion carries.
Aye.
Next is B, finance. If someone wants to make a motion for our paid bills.
I move to approve the Borough of Swissvale paid bills in the amount of $672,306.12.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Bill, I'm assuming that was an aye to vote for. I think we're getting a little bit of lag from your responses.
Yeah, I'm having a problem with connection.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to confirm that was an aye for voting for that. So thank you. All right, that motion passes. Let's move to item C, personnel. Motion for the police committee liaison position.
I make the motion to appoint Ms. Charlene Christmas to the volunteer position of police committee liaison.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Do we want to put a term limit of 2 years on that?
Yes,
So we should just say expiring, let's just say expiring December 31st, 2024, since it's almost the end of the year.
yes. Thank you, Greg.
So Ms. Scales, it sounds like you want to amend your motion that you made. Mr. Miser, I'm not sure who seconded it. I think I heard you first. Do you approve of that amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, any additional discussion?
I
All right,
just
let's
wanted to say I think she's super qualified and I'm very excited to have her in the position.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that's a great observation. All right, let's
I'm
vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Let's see, we're looking at the CDL training. Someone wants to make that motion.
I move to authorize the borough manager and solicitor to draft a memorandum of understanding between Swissvale Borough and Teamsters Local 250 to allow current DPW employees to attend CDL training paid for by the borough.
Second.
I know this is something that came up between our two meetings. So Mr. Batchy, do you mind just saying a couple words about it?
We had a DPW committee meeting on Friday and we're discussing various issues, one of them being staffing. And as everybody knows, there's a terrible shortage of CDL drivers locally and nationwide. We're having a hard time getting some. Fortunately, we found a guy this week and he is going to come in tomorrow on a temporary basis, see if he works out. But it still doesn't help it's always constant churn. So what the committee and myself and Jordan discussed was to send employees, existing employees who are looking to stay here long-term. These are long-term employees for CDL training at the borough's cost. The cost is $4,995 to put them through the course. And with the stipulation that they would agree to stay for a minimum of 2 years after receiving their training. And if they do leave sooner, they have to pay back prorated share of what the training costs, depending on when they leave. So, but we have a few guys that said they were interested in it, that were willing to do it. So, would like to ask council's permission to move forward with that. There is a class starting December 4th. We could get one employee enrolled in. And so we're looking to start, if we could do like one in December, one in January. It's an 8-week course, 4 hours a day. So they go to CDL training 4 hours a day at CCAC Boyce and come to work 4 hours a day for 2 months. And the timing's good because it's the winter time. And we're not quite as busy in the wintertime in the DPW, so we can afford for them to be out of the rotation there for 2 months or so, half a day.
Thank you. Any other discussion from council?
I will just say this is something that is much needed. And we have discussed trying to do this for our employees. I think it's a win-win for all of us. We get CDL drivers, they get an actual, they gain a skill and, and we could really use it right now. So we are thrilled that we were able to come up with this.
All right, let's vote. All in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you. We certainly appreciate it.
All right, motion carries. Yes, absolutely. All right, and we lost Bill. I don't know. I don't see him on here anymore. Does anyone? Am I just missing him? Oh, there he's coming back on. Okay, great. Bill, the motion went through. I hope you are an aye as well. All right, let's move to item D, resolutions. Someone want to make a motion for resolution 2214?
I move to approve resolution 2214 to submit a formal application and business plan to the redevelopment assistance capital program for funding to be used for the construction of the municipal building.
Second.
All right, any discussion around this motion? I know we discussed it last week. All right, hearing none, let's take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right, resolution 2215.
I move to approve resolution 2215 to submit an application for community development block grant funding for the replacement of the sanitary sewer line and manholes on Schley Avenue.
I
Second.
second that. Oh, go ahead, Angela.
Wonderful. Any discussion on this?
The
resolution?
only discussion piece I have is hopefully there can be a little bit better coordination if there's a need for folks to knock on doors on the street when this project takes place. I noticed a few complaints from residents in terms of just not having advance notice, and that's my street as well. So if there could be a little bit better coordination in terms of this overall process, that'd be great.
Thank you, Ms. Skills. That's been noted. Ready to vote? All right, all in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, the motion passes. We'll move to item E, which is leasing of property.
I move to approve a lease agreement with the Woodland Hills School District for the lease of approximately 5,000 square feet of office space at the former school located at 7600 Evans Street to house the administrative offices and police department at a cost of $2,500 per month.
And I'll second that.
Second. Oh, well.
All right, any discussion about this?
Yes. Were we able to get confirmation if Worm Return and 412 would be able to come with us at
I
no
won't.
cost?
Oh, sorry. Is it okay if I answer that?
Yes, please do.
I won't be able to tell you that until after the school board meeting this month, which doesn't happen until the 9th. So they have a school board meeting scheduled for the 9th and the 16th. The way it was described to me is that the one on the 9th is like their agenda meeting, and then the one on the 16th is their business meeting. So I won't know until after we attend those, but I did sign up for public comment to attend on the 9th. So I'll be going to that. Dylan Liu from Ecotone is going with me. And I'm going to see if Laura Totten can come with me too from Worm Return and see what they have to say about that. But I just don't know yet.
Okay. Is there any kind of way, I don't know how quick we're going to work on writing up the actual lease, but would we be able to wait for Abigail to meet with the school board before we sign on the, just before we sign the lease agreement in and of itself? Because we may have to incorporate some type of language that we have the authority to allow Worm Return or 412 Rescue to come on the premises.
I think the alternative is for the school board or school district rather to contract with those entities directly rather than subbing it through us.
Okay.
But going kind of like as an advocate of please do this.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause I was thinking about how to do that today too.
Yeah, I would ask the council approves this tonight with the not knowing about the other three, because we need the space for ourselves and we need to start moving and getting a plan in place. And if they can come with us, if the school board's amenable to that, great. And if not, we still have our space secured, because, we need to start moving. Because, if we start the lease December 1st, we have a lot of stuff to move over there, and a lot of
Okay.
stuff to set up. So we really need them to act on the lease with us and whatever they do else with the others.
And to echo Mr. Batchy, to that, to what he shared, I mean, I think the desire would be, if they are able, if the school board does permit that, that would be great. But if they don't, to me, that can't be a deal breaker, because I mean, if we're going to find any space in the borough that's going to be able to handle all of those things, this is it. I don't know that we'll be able to find another plot that would satisfy all of those same type of needs.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't insinuating that it would be a deal breaker. I just figured maybe we may need to incorporate that into the language of the lease, but it
I
is
see.
better suited for the school to just contract directly with them versus a sublease.
Yeah, and we won't sign anything until after the school board approves it anyway, which will be at the same time they discuss the others. So there'll be no action on the contract for, on signing the contract for at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Any other comments about that before we vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Our business portion is done. Let's move on to item F, which is reports. Our COG report, Ms. Scales.
Yes. So Angela and myself both had the opportunity to attend our most recent COG meeting remotely. It was a very brief meeting. We discussed arrangements for our annual meeting. We also discussed the ongoing Vector program. And there was also mentioned that the police trainings have begun as well. And we have a good amount of, I guess, police departments that have signed up for it. And Angela will continue on with some of the additional discussions that took place.
Yeah, pretty much what Leanne just went over. We were discussing where we were trying to have our Christmas dinner this year. It's going to be December 14th. And it hasn't been confirmed whether it's going to usually at Johnny's every year, but we're still working out the particulars of that date, as well as how we're going to set that up. But they're going to send that information over to the borough whenever it's time. Secondly, as far as the Vector program, they were recommending that it's important that if you choose to use it, to schedule it a lot sooner so that it doesn't get overbooked towards the end of the year. And also she talked about code enforcement and how we're going to work and try to make that a little more affordable. And pretty much that's all we went over during the meeting, and that was it. And
Great.
that's our report.
Thank you so much to both of you. All right, let's move on to item F2, which is Connect report from Ms. Alfonso Wells.
Yes, thank you. Lead is continuing on. I didn't make the meeting they had today because I was teaching class. So if Chief Watson made it, he could let us know about it, but I'm not sure if he was in on that meeting or not. Chief, were you in on that one?
Unfortunately, I had something going on this afternoon. I was able to make it, but I will follow up with y'all and tomorrow and get the details of what happened.
Yeah, they're continuing on. And so they don't necessarily need our input on that part anyway, but thanks. And I know Chief has been attending a lot of the meetings also every time they happen. And thank you, Chief, for that.
You're welcome.
We also had, we were able to apply for and get accepted into a program to help digitize our files. We were one of, I think, they were laughing at us. We were very speedily applying for that through Connect. So we should be able to digitize our files and come up with some other digital systems that we've been looking forward to with the help of Connect. So that is well underway. And as I said, we were one of, I believe, 7 communities that were awarded that space. We also, the last time we met, we discussed that Connect had put together a series of workshops, some of them talking about grants that were available for EV, for getting EV fleets and for converting and getting those EV chargers for the fleets. And I did forward that information to the whole of council. And so we should probably be looking at that. Once again, Connect is letting us know of these programs and is steering us in the right direction. They are also working now on the problem of getting firefighters into our region, or actually recruiting them from our region and changing some things. So that's just another thing that Connect is connecting on, and they have some ongoing things going on with that. There is a report that I will send to the borough, and I think we can upload that on one of our pages if anyone's interested in seeing the state of fire, I think it's called. It's a summary of what is in the region and what's going on, and very interesting, by the way. So we tend to have one of the top programs here in terms of having a program in which it's working, right? So I want to compliment our chief of fire for doing that, Chief Wilhelm. But it is one of the more advanced systems that we have in terms of every state does it differently. And apparently every area has a different way of trying to get people to join the force, so to speak. But everybody does it differently. And the way we're doing it here in Western Pennsylvania, for the majority of places, is not working, but it is working here. So you should be very proud that Swissvale has a premier fire department here, and that it works very well to keep our residents safe. And we are the ones that people look to when they're looking at how they can improve their departments and so on and so forth, and how to make a model that works. So I'm very proud to be a part of that, even if it is tangentially, because I had nothing to do with it. I'll be very clear. So that is your Connect report.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to F3, which is President's Report. I don't have anything this week. I won't take too much time. Just that we met in executive session before this meeting for personnel issues, and we will be meeting in executive session following this meeting for personnel issues. And that's my report. All right, let's move on to F4, the mayor's reports. Miss Mayor Schwartzwelder.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to first thank everyone who participated in this past weekend's Halloween parade. It was our 29th annual Halloween parade. We had about 150 participants, and it was a beautiful day. And I'd just like to thank everyone who volunteered to pass out candy, close streets, and make sure everybody had a good time. The parade was led by the Woodland Hills High School Band, and they all dressed in costume, and they were so darn cute. And at the end of the parade was the Protectors of the Phoenix. It's a motorcycle group who brings bullying in school to light, and they were a great addition to our parade. So thank you everyone who helped and participated. Trick or treat was Monday. It went well. Thank you to the police and fire departments for keeping our streets safe. The bike patrol was out, as most of you would have seen, and there were no incidents. So it was a successful trick or treat event. So thanks to everyone who participated. A couple notes. So tomorrow is the Powerhouse groundbreaking at the Word of God School. That is at 10 a.m. Power is located on Church Street. They bought the the old St. Anselm School, and they will be groundbreaking tomorrow at 10 a.m. So the Power Campus will provide a national model for accessibility and support in recovery. Former Word of God School will have 3 floors of services and resources and connect to the organization's residential treatment facility. So if anybody would like to come by and witness the groundbreaking, this is a great day in Swissvale. Power has been a part of our community for 30 years, and they are a great addition to our community. So come out and support if you can. November 11th, SEDCO will be having an unveiling of the Hero Hometown banners. That will be at the Swissvale Library grounds at 11 a.m. and everyone is invited to participate. That is November 11th. Also, we're having a neighborhood watch program at the fire station on November 15th at 6 p.m. All are invited to participate and get our neighborhood watch program back up and running. And this weekend is our fall back, just a public service. Don't forget to fall back, get your extra hour of sleep, and it will start getting dark real early. Sorry about that. And December 3rd will be our light up night at the fire station. 5:30 we start festivities, and our tree lighting will be at 6 o'clock with Santa Claus. And that's my report. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, item F5 was finance. Ms. Vicky Longenecker was not able to give a report last week. She is still out sick, so there is no report. So look forward to that next month. Let's move to item F6, the manager's report, Mr. Batchy.
Thank you. I got a few things. First is the Borough building will be closed on Friday, November 11th for Veterans Day. This will not affect your trash and recycling pickup. They will still be on Friday. The building will also be closed on the 24th and 25th for Thanksgiving, and the day after. Your trash, if you're on Thursday, will be pushed to Friday. Friday will be pushed to Saturday. Recycling will be picked up Thursday and Friday, will be picked up on Friday. And there'll be a message on social media about all that too with the dates. Next thing is the Washington Street Bridge. Mr. McTiernan can go into more detail about this, but they did enjoin Port Authority as the PUC enjoined Port Authority as part of this situation. But the PUC is scheduled a meeting with the stakeholders on November 17th at 10 a.m. So I don't know where. They're trying to decide whether it's a Zoom meeting, an on-site meeting, or a hybrid meeting. So I will keep everyone updated with that as that moves forward. But I will attend that on the 17th at 10 a.m. And along with that, on the Washington Street Bridge, the traffic engineer is planning to come out next week, toward the end of the week, to install the new signal at Church in South Braddock, so that hopefully we can alleviate some of these backups that occur, to give people traveling westbound a protected left turn. And that would be after the traffic flows forward. Then it would turn red coming from town center, and the arrow would turn green to allow traffic to turn on to Church Street. So hopefully by next Friday, that's done. And then the last thing is I talked to Dr. Castagna from the school district today, and he was asking me about school zone flashing lights. One of the things he noticed that other schools like the Edgewood Elementary, Turtle Creek Elementary, and Wilkins Elementary, there are flashing signals that turn on, say, school zone speed limit 15 miles an hour, and they come on during certain times of the day. And he said, there are none in Swissvale, and was asking me what the process will be to do that. And I said, it's a little more complicated than just slapping up some lights. I mean, you're looking you have to get a permit. You have to hire a traffic engineer. You have to get a permit for the signal installation. Even though it's a borough road, PennDOT has to permit all signals on any road that you receive liquid fuels funding for. So, you're looking at a cost for engineering, and then the construction cost would probably be $30,000 to $40,000 because you'd have to put strain poles in to put these signals on. You'd have to get electricity to them, whether it be through a solar panel on top of each light or through actually wiring them into the system, into the electrical system. But what I wanted to ask council is, what I suggested to Dr. Castagna, is if our council and the school board were both willing to entertain this, council would have to be the applicant because it is a borough road, and we would have to get some engineering done. But I told him, I said, really the only way for us to do it is to, if we obtain grant money. I mean, we can't just go out and spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on these lights. And, he agreed, that we maybe could work together and seek some grant funding on it. But, maybe if we moved forward with talking to our traffic engineer and getting a cost on what the engineering would be, and then we could bring it back to council next month and they could bring it to the board. So that may be something we could split to do the engineering to do some safety improvements there. And it might be a little bigger than just putting flashing signals up to tell you to slow down. Slow your speed limit down, because there might be some other school zone safety money out there where we could put different crosswalks in, some that are, a little more, maybe something similar to South Braddock Avenue, and maybe do something along the property along the school district property to keep the kids from just running out into the street. So is that something council be interested in entertaining, at least, find out what the cost would be to do the engineering and then looking for some grant funds to do the project?
I personally, I would be in favor of at least exploring it. I understand that the cost is pretty substantial, but I think when it comes to our the kids' safety at the school, it's something at least worth considering. But I would hope that this, the school district would be amenable to, assisting us with that.
Same.
So should I have authorization to talk to the traffic engineer then?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Okay, that's all I have in my report. Thank you.
And I want to just give a shout out to Miss Jo Ellen Barr, who is the crossing guard there at that intersection of Monroe and Schuyler. And she does a phenomenal job of interacting with the kids, doing her best to make sure that they're not just running across the street mid-block, but are crossing where she is to keep them safe. And she's an asset to the community and the school district. So I just wanted to give her just that commendation. Thank you, Mr. Batchy. Let's move on to item F7, which is the engineer's report. Mr. Ziskow.
Thank you, Mr. President. As always, I've submitted my written report that details all the various items that I'm currently working on. But this evening, we have our new owner. We had a young lady take over the ownership of Glenn Engineering several months ago, and I thought it appropriate to introduce you all to her. Her name is Laura Brandhoover. She had come to work with us a couple of years ago and left, and then came back and purchased the firm. It's a great new experience. She brings a lot of youth to the company, and we're all excited and really enjoy working with her. And I thought it'd be appropriate that she maybe take a couple minutes and say hello to everybody on council, so you know what we have behind the scenes.
Hello. It's nice to finally meet everyone, even if it is through Zoom. Like Bob said, my husband and I actually purchased the company a few months ago. We're both engineers. I have my PE in construction. Right now we're making some minor improvements to the company, one of which being that we're now a woman-owned small business. But I know you guys are in really great hands with Bob, but if you have any questions or any concerns, if anybody needs anything, you can feel free to reach out to me. Just call Glenn and down my extension's 107, or send me an email. Anything you need, I'm there. I don't know if anyone has any questions or not, but thanks for letting me call in tonight.
That's a wonderful origin story that you started working there left, came back and then bought the company. I mean, that is fantastic. I mean, that is really great. So I love that origin story, and we enjoy working with Bob.
Thanks.
Thank you all. That's all I have, Mr. President.
I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, both Ms. Brandhoover and Mr. Ziskow. I did have one quick question for you, Mr. Ziskow, just because I know this is something that's been brought up before in the public forum. In your report, you talk about Mansion Place, and you talked about how that is the costs for the bid specs came in much higher than we were hoping for, largely because it is a cement founded. Again, I don't remember the exact terminology. Are there things that you think we can do to lower that cost so that we can make the repairs that are necessary, but not necessarily break our bank doing so?
I'd like to say yes. I'll say cautiously, maybe. We looked at this at what we thought was the bare basics of making the repairs. It is what they call a reinforced concrete street. So we've got to go rather deep. Concrete is obviously much more expensive than asphalt, but the people on the concrete street want their street renewed. We'll take a look at it again to see if we can minimize it any further, but I'm cautiously not optimistic.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Ziskow?
Yeah, if I could, Bob, is that something we could look at running a cost on to pave this, just to get an idea of what the difference is between repaving the whole street and only replacing certain concrete sections?
Greg, what are you looking at? Full concrete the whole way, or?
No, I'm just talking about the repairs that you specified.
Yes.
Versus overlaying it with asphalt the entire length of the street.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you both. All right, let's go to F8, Water Authority Report. Ms. Crombie Collins.
Hello, everybody. This is the Wilkinsburg Penn Joint report of an overview of the board meeting from October 25th. The PennVest lead line replacement program progress continues. There were 359 service line replacements that have been completed. 71 are in Swissvale. That is not a change from last month. I do anticipate that they will be back in Swissvale and continuing the work shortly. The resolution to apply for the next PennVest grant was approved at the meeting. The engineer is working on our submission. It was due today. We're looking for $9,750,000 for another 1,000 lead lines to be replaced. The Cary Furnace Phase 3 project materials are now expected in May, so that project has been delayed. All the ordinances from authority charter members have been executed, and the corporation filing will be completed to extend the life of the authority. I thank you again for passing that resolution. With the continued Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike, use of the Tribune Review or the Valley Mirror to meet legal advertisement rules was discussed, and our solicitor is investigating. The Water Authority solicitor is investigating. A review of pension plans was made by Marquette Associates with discussion on making changes to strengthen the plans. That's anticipated to be voted on in November. The 2023 budgeting process is in full swing. There is a finance committee meeting on November 7th. I'm part of that committee. The full board review will happen on November 10th, and voting is expected at the November 22nd board meeting. Authorization to purchase holiday appreciation gifts was approved, and other business was conducted. The agenda, engineers report, the report of management, and the previous meeting minutes are available online. There were 20 mainline breaks system-wide since the last board meeting. None were in Swissvale. There were 218 distribution service or repairs, 10 of which were in Swissvale. There are charts in my report that has been submitted. And again, if you see or have any water issues, please call the authority customer service at 412-243-6200. And that's my report. Any questions?
Wonderful.
thank
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, item F9, which is the solicitor's report. Mr. McTiernan.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President. I have two items. The first is a follow-up to a comment from the manager about the PUC. In fact, the PUC did issue an extensive opinion and order on the 27th of October. The commission granted the borough's motion to include the Port Authority of Allegheny County as a party, which we thought was very important. And I thought the commission very accurately and in detail stated the borough's concerns and the borough's position on the replacement of the bridge. In fact, the secretary stated specifically that the commission acknowledges the inconvenience and burden to the residents of Swissvale and the residents of the eastern suburbs of the bridge being closed, which we thought was very important that they realize the timeliness is essential. And in light of that, as they did order the scheduling of either it's going to be a site meeting or a virtual meeting, as Mr. Batchy said, that will be taking place later this month. They also ordered its Rail Safety Division to make a formal report to the commission within 60 days, which will be before the end of the year. I calculated as December the 26th. So there will be a report. They're giving it a high priority. In the interim, they did excuse the railroad from making the original repairs, but only temporarily to see if the money can be more efficiently spent in some other direction. So it does appear that the commission understands the critical nature of the bridge, the inconvenience to the public, not just the risk to the buses and the trains below. And so that's a good development, including the fact that the Port Authority has been joined as a party, since, as we've said all along, we feel they're essential, not only because they use the bridge, but because so many of their vehicles pass underneath the bridge. So that was the first item. I also wanted to mention, I raised this at the meeting last week, and I circulated a draft ordinance. The borough has to adopt an ordinance in accordance with Act 57, which was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. It would add a section to Chapter 24 of the borough's Code of Ordinances that for parties that purchase real estate and fail to receive a real estate bill, they must receive, if they meet certain conditions, a waiver of any penalty if they've made that purchase within the previous 12 months. So I sent that to the manager. I'm sure I can circulate it. I would ask that it be advertised in the interim and ready for adoption at the December meeting, so it can be done prior to the end of the year and the beginning of the new calendar year. And those are the only two items I have this evening, unless there are any questions. Thank you, Mr. Edsel.
And that will be advertised next week in the Valley Mirror.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Batchy. That'll be great.
All right, hearing no questions, is there, we don't have a line item for it, but are there any additional announcements that were not shared to this point in the meeting? Right, hearing none. Item 7, motion to adjourn.
So moved to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning at 8:33 p.m., please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And you all aren't abstaining on that one. All right, thank you for this meeting. We will, once the recording is done, member of council is sticking around for executive session.